welcome to the Marlene Saunders show where we have real talk and real conversations, and you're welcome to it. Today on the show, we will be talking to Beverly Black, and the topic is searching for my birth mother. So, welcome everybody to the show. If you're new to this channel, I would invite you to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, and leave me a comment in the comment section below.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
Hey, everybody, it's Marlene of the Marlene Saunders Show, where we have real talk and real conversations, and you're welcome to it. Today on the show, we will be talking to the wonderful content creator, Beverly Black, and she is openly sharing her story of searching for her birth mother. So let's welcome Beverly to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
I am glad to finally be here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, Miss Beverly. So, for those who don't know about you, your channel, here's an opportunity for you to say everything that you want to say. Tell them about your YouTube channel and what you do on it.
Okay, my name is Beverly Black, and my new YouTube channel is also named Beverly Black. I started this journey on YouTube in 2019. I know on my About page on my channel it says 2017, but that's when I started looking at videos, going from channel to channel. But I didn't actually start making videos until 2019. And I started out doing flowers. I was flower glamorous. And I love flowers. I wanted to share my flowers with everybody. And I thought that that's the direction that I would go into. But then my husband and myself, we owned a restaurant and we closed it. It was JB Ribs and More. He can make some fine ribs. But anyway, after we closed the restaurant, I just didn't want to cook anymore. I wasn't into cooking, but I started cooking a little bit on my channel because the flowers are just out in the summertime. So I needed something for the fall. So once I started cooking, it blew up. People was loving the recipes, was loving hearing me talk with this southern accent I have. And I thank God for that. I thank him for that. And it just blew up. So I went to I think it was Cooking with Beverly or something. I don't forgot what the second name was. But anyway, the Lord led me to just use my name, Beverly Black, because I was into cooking, flowers, motivational, and tutorials at the time. So once I went straight to Beverly Black, God just did an awesome job because that's where He wanted me to be. So now 80% of my channel is cooking. It's cooking. And I'm still doing my flowers here and there. I do motivational. I do lives on Tuesdays and Thursday at 1 p.m. And each Thursday we are cooking live. So that's basically where I am now. I'm enjoying it. I love, love, love my YouTube journey. The people I have met, the family that has grown on my channel, it has truly been a blessing.
Ahmed
Henderson.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, Lord. Can you mute it for a second?
Yeah, hold
Okay.
on. Yeah, it's all good. So, this is your introduction to Beverly Black's channel. If you have not subscribed to her channel, go ahead and do so. I have pinned her channel in the above section. So, thank you all so much for being here. Let's welcome in everybody who's here. We have GeoBlogs H Town, and we have the One Handed Gardener. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate your supporting Beverly.
I am so sorry.
So good, Miss Beverly.
Oh Lord, my husband and my grandson. Oh Lord, they never call me this much.
Listen, everybody who's a content creator knows that you don't get a phone call until you go live.
Amen.
We
Amen.
all know that.
Okay, so go
Okay,
ahead.
so the first question that I want to ask you, Miss Beverly, is where were you raised?
I was raised in Weldon, North Carolina. It's a itty bitty town. If you blink your eyes, you through it. It's that small.
Mm, wow. So, do you know what the population at the time? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I
You
don't know
don't
what
remember,
the
but just a small
population
town.
was. It wasn't high at all. Maybe 5,000. I say
Wow.
it's a small town. Everybody knew everybody. You know the way it used to be when people my age grew up. It was a family oriented. Everybody took care of everybody. It was one of those kind of atmospheres.
Yes, that's it's nice to grow up in a small community because everybody knows everybody.
Right, right.
Yes. Okay, so the next one. What was your life like in your childhood?
It was hard. It was hard because I never felt like I belonged. Something was missing. I wasn't in the right place. But my parents that raised me, I have to give it to them. They always told me, you know, the story about my life that I wasn't their biological child,
Mhm.
that I was given to them, and they raised me and they took care of me the best way that they could. But it was really hard. Daddy went to was it the seventh or eighth grade, and Mama never went to school. She couldn't read or write, and it was really, really hard dealing with those two worlds because Daddy took care of everything, and Mom always stayed at home. She was the housewife. And even as a child, I would pray if one of them had to die first, that it would be Mama because she couldn't do anything
Yeah.
for herself. I realized that as a child, and the Lord took her home first. He did.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Things were different back then because you had to grow up fast.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was a surrogate wife, and the things that she couldn't do, I had to do as a child. And some of my childhood I couldn't enjoy because I was being an adult. And then they were overprotective because they didn't want me to do anything. I couldn't ride. I never learned how to ride a bicycle. I
Hmm.
rode a tricycle one time. They didn't like me, like when the kids were out playing hopscotch and stuff like that. They didn't want me to do it because they were afraid I would get hurt. It was just situations, they were overprotective. And I just found out a couple of years ago the reason why they really were overprotective when I was doing my journey on trying to find my looking for my birth mother.
Hmm.
And I found so much stuff, and I found out that um the people who raised me, they had a daughter. And I
Oh,
remember vaguely hearing little bits about, they had a daughter. I assume she died when I was a child. I didn't know the story because they never told, you know, it was like you're a child, you stay in your position, you don't need to know adult stuff. So,
yeah.
but I ran across her death certificate,
Oh.
and she starved to death. I
Mhm.
read that I don't know how many times before I could put it down because I could not believe what I was reading. But she was born during the Depression.
Yeah.
And see, my parents, they came from slaves. So
Mhm.
they were used to care, what is it? Care shop, care, what is it? Where you have the farm, but you're renting it from the
From the slave owner.
Thank you. From the white man. You basically renting it from them. Your little parcel of land to do your little farm, and then you got to give them so much back from your crop, you know how that goes. So they didn't have the money. They didn't have the money to feed they had two children, David Lee, my brother, older brother, and their daughter. And I had never seen any information about her, and it just blew my mind because now that's one thing. I never was hungry. I never was hungry.
Mhm.
We never were without food, and that's why I couldn't understand how did she starve to death? How did this happen? And the Lord just opened it up to me. Look at the year she was born. Look at the time, it was in. They didn't have the food to eat. And that's why they were so overprotective of me. I never knew why, because when I would go to school, mama would walk me to the stop sign. When I come from school, she would be at the stop sign waiting for me to walk me home. And the kids used to tease me so much about that. Your mama got to walk you to school. Your mama got to come pick you up. But
Yes.
I didn't understand what was going on. And it made me resent them. Resent.
Oh.
And it was hard.
Because that's one of the things back in the day that parents never used to explain things to you. They always
Thank
say,
you.
stay in a child's place.
Right, right. That's what it was. And you didn't, it was that kind of home that when grown people talking, you don't come in and you don't get in their conversation. And I knew better. And one day I said, darn, Darn, darn. And
Mm.
my daddy about lost it. He told me I better not ever say that word again. It was too close to a cuss word. Because in my home, I never heard them cuss. I never heard cuss words. They did not cuss. I didn't hear it until I went the times that I did get to go to somebody's house, one of my friends' house, to hear, their parents saying a bad word in between. And then it shocked me because I didn't know what it was. Because in my home, you never heard cuss word. You never heard them raising their voice. You just didn't hear it. And their son, David Lee, who was older, David Lee was like 40 years older than me, and he was an alcoholic. And being an alcoholic, he knew not to come to daddy's house because daddy didn't put up. He could come, but he had to be sober when he come. And if
Yeah.
he came drinking, daddy, well, he just didn't because he knew daddy would have a fit. And the other strange thing about that, David Lee, now daddy would let me go every once in a while and spend the night at David Lee's house. And he lived in this part of town that they call what is it, the catch or something. It was, how we gave nicknames and stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's where all the alcoholics lived at, in that little section.
Oh.
And for daddy to let me go stay with David Lee overnight was a big, big thing. But I love going there. I love going, being around all those alcoholics because they treated me like a little princess. They were overprotective. Nobody. Now, I was sexual abused as a child, but none of
Mhm.
those alcoholics did it. Not one of them.
Wow.
It was the men in the church. None of those alcoholics, they were overprotective or of me. I felt, how when you somewhere you feel safe? I
Yeah.
felt safe with all those alcoholics because they
Wow.
they knew Mr. Carr and they knew how Mr. Carr was, and they knew they better not do nothing to Mr. Carr's daughter. It was just like that. But I was molested, and it was by the minister at that time in our church and the chairman of the deacon board. And the chairman of the deacon board lived up right down the street from us.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, it's always the people that you trust the most that hurt you
Mhm.
the most.
That's right. That's
And back
right.
then, even when things were happening to you, you didn't even know what it was because you didn't have those conversations. You knew it was something wrong, but you didn't know
Mhm.
what it
What it
was.
was. You're right. And it was when my breast, when your breasts just start growing, they're real sore. You can't stand for nobody, you can't even stand yourself to touch them at times. And
Mhm.
the chairman of the deacon board down the street, his wife was a school teacher. He was a principal of a school, and he was the chairman of the deacon board. And my daddy was a deacon also, so he would send me down to his house every once in a while to take a paper or to go pick up something, for church. I
Mm-hmm.
would be terrified every time I had to go because I knew that that man would run me all over the house trying to pull my breast. Then the
Oh
pastor,
my.
he was molesting all the girls, not all the girls, but a lot of the
But
girls in the church. I ended up having to babysit for him. His wife was one of the little prissy naive. It's whatever he said was the truth. She was one of those. So anyway, but a long story short, he left our church. He went to Richmond, Virginia, and he got one of the biggest black churches in Richmond, Virginia, because he had every degree that you could name. He had doctor, PhD, he had it all. He was one of those
Mhm.
educated black men, but who was a pervert. That's what he was. So he was in Jet magazine when this happened at his church in Richmond, because he was giving the young girls there, evidently they were drinking real wine for the communion. So he was giving the young ladies the wine from the communion and getting them a little tipsy and was molested now. So he got arrested. He ended up getting 116 years for molesting those kids. Wait a minute, I ain't told you. Wait a minute.
What?
My father called me one day to tell me and some more of the deacons are getting ready to go to Richmond to Clyde Johnson's. Yeah, I said his name. I don't care. To Clyde Johnson's trial, because we are going to support him. I said, Daddy, I
Support. No, hold on. Time out.
okay.
Okay. So this is the guy. He's a pervert. He's
Mhm.
educated, but
Right.
back then they made it seem like it was okay. They
Back
supported him.
Okay, back then in your community, a black minister, if you had somebody black who was able to get on the police force or be a fireman, was a big thing in our, I mean, it's like they had accomplished something and they were looked up, you know, put on a pedestal, like,
Hmm.
and educate the school teachers too. It was in our era and time, to be a school teacher and to accomplish those things were a big thing. Okay, you understand what I'm saying now? So
Hmm.
my pastor, the church I went to was a very educational oriented church. They wanted, which was good, which was good. They highly promoted all the kids going to college at least twice a year in Raleigh, North Carolina, at Shaw University. They would take us there. We did things there. They pushed education, which was good. But if you're gonna be a pastor there, you got to have a line of
Right.
things behind your name. You got to have accomplished, been there, of some importance to be a minister of that church. That's
Right.
how it was, that kind of
Because
church.
back then, if you had the same education as somebody else, we always had to do more and be more to
That's it.
even be at eye
Yeah.
level. You had to be, say they were a nurse, you had to be the doctor before they would go,
Right,
oh, okay.
right. You're so
Yeah.
right. And for him to have his doctorate degree and a PhD, and he's a black man with all this, and went to the better schools, that was a big thing. And that church was very proud to have him as a pastor. And that's why he went to Richmond, and he got one of the largest black churches in Richmond because of what he had accomplished.
Hmm.
So anyway, Daddy was telling me some of the deacons were going to support Reverend Johnson. So I hesitated for a while, and I finally said, Daddy, why are you going to support that man? That man molested me. He, he took a breath. He didn't say anything for a few minutes. It's just dead on the phone. Then he came back and said, well, we're going and we're going to support Clyde. We're going to support Clyde because he needs our support. Clyde's a good man. Clyde's a good man. Mhm. That's what he told me
What?
on the phone. That's what he told me. And see, when I was growing up, you didn't go to therapy. No, black people didn't even know about
No,
therapy.
and they didn't even have those things available.
Yeah, they didn't have that available. But I was blessed with a friend when I came to Tennessee who was like my sister mother, who taught me a lot. Well, I ate some popcorn. I'm sorry. And it's just in my mouth. Anyway, she taught me things that a mother should teach their daughter that I didn't know, but yet she was my girlfriend. And she was the best thing, one of the best things God ever blessed me with. And she told me, she said to write your daddy a letter and write Clyde Johnson a letter, because she didn't give him the benefit of saying reverend, in front of him. She said, and write them a letter and tell them how you really feel. Put all your feelings and emotion in that letter. Then read it out loud. And then after you read it out loud, burn it. I did that.
Hmm.
That's how I got released. That's how, because I put it out in the atmosphere. I let it go. I let it go in order to forgive my father for what because he just didn't know no better. I mean, he was from that era that to him, he was somebody important, somebody he looked up to, and he was his former pastor, and he was going to support him. I understood after I did the letter how daddy felt, but he was still wrong. It still didn't make it
Yeah.
right. He
And
was
and
still
and um and a father's job is to protect their child.
right.
So if you didn't feel protected, that gave you some emotional damage too.
Mhm. Then he let me know that they knew that Clyde Johnson was molesting the girls in our church.
Wait
He
a
told
minute.
me that. Yes, they knew it. They knew it. Did nobody turn in not in my area. If men molested kids, they didn't get turned in for it. Nobody said, you just swept it under the rug. You just
Yeah,
didn't
they
say
used to
nothing
hide those
about
things because they didn't want it to come out.
it. Uh-huh. Because like our street was here, and then it was a street right behind me. And the family that lived behind me, I would hear him and mama talking about, because this woman, she was short and she had that big knot in her back. She was bent over like that.
Oh yeah.
And I never could understand. I said, what happened to her? What in my mind, I was wondering why she was born like that. And I remember hearing daddy said, because her daddy is her granddaddy. And I was thinking, well, how in the world can your daddy be your granddaddy at the same time?
Oh.
Incest, her daddy was her granddaddy. And that's what they did. And they in that community, they did that a lot and kept it a secret. So I learned to, when I seen people that had deformities like that, or a little mental, had,
Yeah.
because back then when I was little, when you were mental, you're just a bad child. You're just known as a bad child, and you can do
Hmm.
better. But I had enough sense to know then, her or he or she, their daddy is their granddaddy. And
Yeah,
most of
he
them,
was messing with her.
uh-huh, yeah, her daddy was her granddaddy. Ain't that something?
Oh, so the amount of pain that used to happen back in the day, it's just
It's unbelievable.
inconceivable. Like your mind can't even think of,
Mm-mm.
number one, thinking about slavery, um,
Yes,
thinking about the molestation that used to have, the unequal rights, the mistreatment, and how they used to look at women
right.
like you were nothing. All of those things. I'm not saying that everything is perfect now, but I mean,
No,
at least now you can live. You can
it's
live
far
as a
better than
woman
what it
and have
was.
rights.
Yeah, it's far better than what it was then, because I lived through it, and I wouldn't want to put that on nobody. Nobody. And see,
Mm.
mama, she, her mother was a slave, so she was raised up like a slave, and she would never eat with forks or spoons. She always used her hand. She mush it up, and she eat
Wow.
like that with it in her hand. Hmm.
Mm.
It's a lot of older black people do that. My mother-in-law, like when
Wow.
she ate greens or something like that, she would always mush them up in her hand and eat with her hands.
Yeah.
because that's all they had to eat with then.
Because they didn't have utensils.
Mm-mm.
Mm,
But as a child, I didn't understand all that. I thought, why am I with these people that
yeah.
don't, you know, it's like I know more than they know. But one thing I can say, Daddy worked every day of his life. I got his check stubs here now. He made $30 a week. $30 a week. And he supposedly had a good job at Turner Lumber Company. He
So
bought me what.
that's only like about $6 a day.
Uh-huh. And he was buying a house. We had a 2-story house that he bought on that $30. Paid the light bill, the utilities. He paid everything. Got me what I wanted, and still had money saved. You tell me how he did that on $30. $30.
Oh,
Mama
unbelievable.
used to keep a handkerchief. Back then they would, with the safety pin, they would tie, put it to their slip and stuff. And she
Mhm.
kept her money in that. She always had money. Always had money in that handkerchief.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Caribbean people, we used to take that handkerchief and put it in our bra.
Yeah. Well, Mama didn't wear her bra. She didn't wear her bra. Oh
Things were
God.
different. Things were definitely different back then,
Yes, they
weren't
were.
they,
They
Miss
were.
Beverly?
Yeah.
So how did you feel? Okay, you said that you went through these situations. You told your daddy they knew all of these things were going on. Did you have any type of conversations with your mama about this? The mama that was raising you?
No, she didn't understand. She just, when her daughter died, it did something to her. And I realized that, when I found out that, like I told you before, and I just didn't know why she was like that. But I'm quite sure she had a nervous breakdown because
Mhm.
um she wasn't completely right, everything wasn't there completely.
Right.
So I knew something, but I could never, as a child, I couldn't put all that stuff together. But when I found out about her daughter, I knew then she didn't have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
When this
You're
child died.
coping with all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, times
Mhm.
were hard for those women and they didn't get any help. You
No.
just had to just suck it up and just
Mm-hmm.
carry on.
Yeah. I seen her sign her name a many a days with an X, just an X. She could write that X, but she could count change and money. She could do that, but she couldn't read or write.
Yeah. Yeah. They were something. And Rochelle says, yes, they were great
Yes,
budgeters.
they were.
They knew how to put that money together. I
Hmm.
can tell you, my mom was born in 1937, and she told me that her mother and father, this is in Jamaica, they bought a farm for back then the cost of, I would say, about $1,000.
Right.
And that was a
Mhm.
lot of
A
money.
lot
A
of
thousand
money.
dollars was a
Yeah.
lot of money, and it was a lot of land. And I was like,
Hmm.
$1,000.
It was a lot. And
Yeah.
the house that I grew up in is still there. It's a friend of mine. She sent me some pictures last year of it. The people who have bought it, they'd have redone it a little bit, but it's still the 2-story house sitting there. I
Wow.
mean, when I saw it, the front porch where Daddy had it screamed in, they had changed that, and he had put one on the back side. I think they changed that, but basically, it still looked the same. And when I saw it, I used to. We had upstairs and was a room there, and I used to go there and look out that room, all out that window all the time, and daydream about what my life is going to be like when I grow up.
Mm. Wow, that gave me chills. You didn't know what you were going to turn into in
No,
the
I
future.
didn't.
Yeah.
Well, my biological grandmother, who lived on the next street over, because Daddy and Mama always told me about who my family was, that I was a Graham. My father's family was in Ronald Kravis. Ronald Kravis is like a sister city, and they lived there. And that my mother's name was Mary Frances Matthews, and her grandmother lived behind me. And Mama, we used to walk to her house all the time, and she was a heavy set black woman, and she didn't like me. And I never done nothing to her, but she just. Now I have a brother. I have one brother, Charlie, and he was raised by another family. I know I'm jumping with your questions, but
That's okay.
anyway, he was raised by another family, and he could go and come as he pleased and do what he wanted, but I couldn't.
Mhm.
Everywhere I went, Mama went. But anyway, she would take me to see Miss. I never could call her grandmother. All I call her was Miss Francis because that's what she was to me, Miss
Wow.
Francis. And one day she said, "She ain't. I don't know what you fooling on her for. She ain't gonna be nothing. Her mama wasn't nothing, and she ain't gonna be nothing." And I
Oh,
probably was 10 years old, and those words will never leave my. I can never get them out of my head. But then my brother, when he would go over there, he would lay in her lap. She would give him money. She would feed him and everything. And she was supposed to be a minister. And she would
wow.
talk about the Bible to him. But when I go, I ain't gonna be
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
back then that they didn't value a girl as a
No.
child. It
Mm-mm.
was only if you had a boy, like
The
that was
male
something.
thing.
Oh yeah, we got a
Yeah.
boy, but a
Yeah.
girl, they're like, ah,
Because that's the
yeah.
way how daddy got me from my biological mother. Um, Short story of that. My father is supposed to have been a minister from 16. He started messing with my biological mother, which was his wife. He was married, his wife's best friend,
Mhm.
and he got her pregnant. Then they ran away from Weldon, North Carolina to Baltimore, Maryland. And my mother was like 16 at the time. So she ended up having two children. And I guess after she had the two children and they couldn't make it, he ends up leaving my mother in Baltimore with two kids. He goes back to his wife. He goes back to
Now
his wife,
stop.
left her in Baltimore with two kids. So daddy was getting off work one night. He was a security guard at that lumber company at night. And he walked back and forth to work. That's how small the city was. And he saw my mother there getting ready to throw me in the river. And he asked,
Wait a minute. Wait a
he,
minute. Wait a minute.
yes,
So
yes.
your daddy
Yeah, the
was
one who
was
raised me. He's the one who raised me. Alan Carr. His name
and
is.
he saw what was about to happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
So he's the one that prevented it from
Yes,
happening.
he asked could he have the baby, which was me. She had my brother, but she wasn't going to kill my brother. She's going to keep him, but she was going to get rid of me. So daddy took me from her. She just gave him to me. I never was legally adopted or nothing. She
Oh,
just
wow.
gave him to, and which I thank God that she did. Now I thank God. Yeah, here they come. Hold on a second. I need to close this door so they won't be busting.
Okay. Can y'all believe this? I can't believe what Miss Beverly is saying. So her her father found her real mother getting rid of her in the river. This is just unbelievable to me that these type of things have happened in the past and they're even happening still today.
Yes, they are. So when she gave him, when she gave myself to my father, I didn't have any hair in my head. I had sores all in my head, sores. And back then, black people, they used to doctor up a lot of things with sulfur. Sulfur, have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
They would put sulfur in my head. It took years for my hair to grow back right. My brother, to this day, he'll say every once in a while, he said, when I, because he would always come see me. We always knew we were brothers and sisters, and he would always come see me. And I'm the oldest, but he would come see me. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, I used to wonder why my sister's head looked like that. Why did you have all those sores in your head? And see, I don't remember my childhood much. I vaguely remember little things here and there. And memory is just, it just goes and come with me. But Lord let me, I think the Lord blessed me with that because I was so traumatized as a child what I went through. And I catch myself at times, I have to watch how I eat because I get strangled. I'll eat real fast. I believe it's because I was starving. I probably didn't have food to eat. And then when I did get it, you know how you can, I was,
Yeah, you're like,
even as
scarf it down.
a grown person, I can catch myself at times eating like rushing, and I'll look around to make sure nobody's seen because it just happens for a second, and then I try to straighten it up and don't eat like that. But um, yeah,
But
that's what I did.
that's what it was.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
But
That's what it was.
you can't change what is your past.
No, no,
You
you
can't
can't.
change it.
No,
Okay.
it can't.
So let's go into, okay, you said you grew up with, your not biological father and mother,
Uh-huh.
but they raised you, and they were very religious and all of that. So when did you find out? Did they tell you from the beginning that they weren't your birth
Yeah,
parents?
they always have. I don't know. They out, and that's one thing I can tell you. They have all. They were always truthful to me about that. That's why I said they always let me. Now, my father's name was Charlie Graham. His family lived in Rock Rapids, and they were well known holiness. They went to the Holiness Church, Church of God
Okay.
in Christ.
Okay.
And back, when I was growing up, people who went to the Holiness Church, the women wore those black skirts and white
Right.
blouses all the time. And I always had
Buttons
on
up to the
tennis.
top.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
And that's how I knew my family. And the Grahams, it's hereditary. I'm real dark under my eyes. And my brother, we both have it. We both inherit that. But we look just like, if you ever see a Graham, you'll know that we're family because we all look so much alike. But my biological grandmother, my father's mother, every Christmas, she would come to see me and bring a basket. She wouldn't talk much. She didn't talk much, but she would always come to see me. And she would always let me know who she was. You know, it would always,
And what did she announce herself as to you?
your grandmother, your
Okay.
grandmother, I come to see you. And I vaguely remember her coming, but she was nice. She was nice. And anyway, about 3 or 4 years ago, some of my family from Roanoke Rapids was coming through here in Tennessee, and my cousin, they brought their mother. Anyway, she came in, and she's the sweetest little soul, and she's probably 80 some years old now. But anyway, she told me, she said, I used to love to come with your grand. I would bring. That's what she said. I would bring your grandmother to see you. I used to love to come and see you with your grandmother, but she said your grandmother wouldn't let me get out the car when I brought you. She said, and you got to stay in the car, and I have to go in here by myself.
Mm.
When she told me that I said, she did what? She said, yeah. She told me that I had to stay in the car, that she had to go in there and see you by herself.
Mm.
I don't know what the meaning
And
of that was.
what was that about? You don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. And then before now, her son, my biological father, I met him before he died. I met him.
Okay.
And he told me that uh, Bentley going in and out. That's what I'm looking at. And he told me that he used to come by and see me. And I said, you did? I don't remember that. I don't remember you. He said, but he said it with an attitude. Yes, I did. I came to see you. I said, I don't remember it. He said, yeah, because every time I would come see you, so you'd be hollering and crying and wanted to go with me. And I told you, I got a family. I can't take you.
Oh, because he was married.
Mm-hmm,
Mm.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
And
Wow.
see, anybody else, this stuff would have ran them crazy.
Yeah. But you were protected
Yeah.
mentally.
Uh-huh.
This
God took care
situation.
of
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
So you say you had siblings, so you had a brother.
One brother. Yeah. Now I had a sister, Margaret. My father, from his wife Blondie, had
Mhm.
one daughter, Margaret. And Margaret was a year older than me. Okay, when my father left his wife to run off with my mother, his wife had a daughter by another man while he was gone.
Oh my
This,
goodness.
I t- everybody tell me I need to write a book. You said
Yeah,
you need to write a
this is a
book.
real book, Miss Beverly.
Said she had a Joyce, and Joyce is real light skinned. So
Mhm.
Margaret is the same color as I am.
Mhm.
So Margaret is my half sister, but Margaret is deceased now. She died about 10 years ago. Anyway, um, the one time I got to meet her, she told me, she said that she said, I don't know why you want to be with him so bad. Said life was not easy living with him. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, he was a minister and he was one of those like you call um the ministers used to have the little churches on the side street like that.
Mhm.
One of them kind of ministers.
Yep.
And she said he used to take us from Ron Kravitz to New York. They went to New York a lot. And
Oh,
we would have to sleep in Central Park. She said, I slept in Central Park a many a nights when you were sleeping on a bed because my father would not keep a job.
what? See, and you were in your nice warm bed,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
you were. So I can't say it was better, but it was maybe your quality of life was a little better than what you would have had
Right.
if you were on the road.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
So,
oh, that's what when I
oh,
was
go
talking
ahead,
about
Miss
Margaret. I'm gonna
Beverly.
tell you this. And she said, me and my daddy, she said, we've been in many arguments because she said, I'm his biological daughter. And she said, Joyce, my sister, is not his daughter. And said, he was crazy about Joyce, but he always mistreated me.
Hmm.
It was just dysfunction I mean,
Yeah, everywhere, just so
mhm.
much chaos.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. Robert
that's
said
it.
it.
Storefront
Storefront.
preachers. That's right, Robert. You got it. Storefront preachers. That's what they
Wow.
were. It was just
I never will
dysfunction.
understand that the ones that they really care about,
Mm-mm.
it just doesn't make any sense how they treated their children,
Yeah,
and they had so much reverence to God. It
yeah.
just,
And you're supposed to be a minister. You're
mhm.
supposed to be a minister, and you don't even treat your own family with love. You don't show no
Mhm.
care for your own family. And I went through this bout where, for a while I could not go to church. I could not deal with ministers because it seemed like ministers in my life were my worst enemies there for a while. And I just could not deal with it. But I thank God that He brought me through it. You know, that was them. Everybody is not like that. Not like they
Yeah.
were. You know how ministers like to, at the end of church they want to hug you and kiss you and stuff. I for years,
Yeah, I'd be like, just stay back.
don't
Mhm.
touch me. I couldn't deal with that. No.
Yeah, because of what you have been through.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wow. So here's a side question. So you said that you know, that your father who raised you, he went to support him, the guy, when he had a trial. What was the outcome of that?
He was convicted. That's what I said. He got
Oh yeah,
116
I know you said
years.
he got 116 years, but
Yeah.
did you hear anything updates on?
His wife who supported him all the way. She was right there for him the whole time he was in prison. She waited on him till he came home. He's out. I don't know if he's dead or alive now, but he did.
Oh, so he got out, so he didn't serve the whole
No, he
116
didn't serve
years.
116, but he probably stayed in jail about 30 years, something like that.
What?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
he got out probably for good behavior.
Yeah. Hmm. And being a minister. You know.
Oh, because he was a minister. Mm. Yeah, Gio says, child, no good men ministers makes me sick. They think that it was okay to treat women any kind of
Hmm.
way and still do today.
You're right, Gio. You're
Mhm.
right.
But we can't put all of them in that. But
No, we
a, lo-
can't.
a lot of it happens within the church, especially in the Black community. I don't
Mhm.
like to, you know,
It's the truth,
to
though.
label everybody, but a
It's the
lot
truth.
of a lot of molestation happens,
Yeah.
a lot of incest, lots of things happen
Hmm.
within the church. And as a child, the parents don't tell you, they don't inform you of nothing.
Mm-mm.
You don't know what's
They didn't
happening.
talk to you about nothing.
They didn't talk to you about anything. And if you do talk about it, back in the day, I remember if you would say something happened to you, they would say, they would point their finger at you, but what did you do to make them do that?
You
You was
got
being
it. That's
fast.
it.
You was being
Hmm.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just too fast. You must have done something. And then I didn't even know what fast was. What, fast? What's
Mhm.
fast? So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was told too, Miss Beverly. They
uh-huh.
would say that you was just fast because ain't no man was going to do nothing to you unless you must have thrown yourself on them.
Right, right. That's
And
it.
and that's terrible.
No
Ugh,
one, no one of them better ever step to me. Gio, I know.
I already know. I already know.
Uh-huh.
Well, Miss Beverly, I'm so sorry all of this happened to you.
Oh,
Honestly,
that's all right. God brought me through. He brought
I
me through.
know. I know
Mm.
we did. But I just have four more questions for
Okay.
you. So, um so when did you find out about information about your birth mother?
Through ancestry.com. When
Yes.
I did the DNA test, start search. Well, a lot of the information, to be honest, I knew because I knew who in town. I knew who my grandfather was. Her father, he was a cab driver in town, and he used to come see me all the time. But he was an alcoholic also. And my mother left home when she was 13.
Mm,
She had a sister. Her name was Hazel. I met her before she died. Aunt Hazel said she hadn't seen my mother since she was 13. So she ran away from home. Nobody knew where she was at, what was going on. And her own father didn't know. And
so hold on, Miss
okay,
Beverly. So did they even know that she was pregnant when she ran away?
no, no, they didn't know. They found out later, but they didn't know at the time. Now, when she was 13 and ran away, she went to my grandmother's house, which she was my great grandmother, which was my mother's grandmother, Miss Francis.
Okay.
She lived with her for a while. So she
Woo!
started messing with my father at my grandmother's house. And that's when
Wow.
she got pregnant. That's now I have my mother's birth certificate. I have her school records. I have my grandfather's military record, his um his death certificate, a lot of my ancestries, I have their death certificates. But I can't find my own birth certificate. Can't
Mm.
find my birth certificate and cannot find my mother. It's just like she vanished off of the face of
Out
the
of
earth.
the face of the earth.
Mhm.
So that was my next question. I was going to ask you, when was the last residence that you know about where she was?
Well, in my running down trying to find her, she married this man that lived in Rock Rapids, North Carolina, a couple of years later after um, this incident with her getting ready to throw me in the river and daddy taking me. I found their marriage license.
What?
Like a year or two later, they got a divorce. I got that. Then he turns around and married three more women. I got
This is a soap opera, Miss Beverly. This is a
uh,
soap opera.
it is. You ought to see the files of stuff I have found, and then it would get deep, so deep. Sometime I would have to just quit. I would stop for a year or two, not searching for, because I was finding out so much information about my family that I did not know, that it was just overwhelming, just overwhelming. Like I didn't know, for your social security card, that your first three numbers is the state you got your card in.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And my first through numbers are 227. And 227 is Virginia.
Okay.
And I forgot that I got my Social Security card in the state of Virginia. I thought I got it in North Carolina. So in my research, when I found that out, I guess so much was going on. When I found that out, that just took me over that day. I just, for a week, I just did not feel right, could not talk about nothing. It just blew my mind.
Yeah. It's information overload.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. And
Information.
you
Oh,
have to take a break in
yeah,
between those things. Yeah.
I had to do that because I was finding out too much. I was finding out all these other things, but what I want to find out, I can't find out. And then
Yeah.
I found out that my mother's mother left my grandfather, went to New Jersey, married another man, and started another whole new family. Where I got her children's name, most of them are dead. And the
Mm.
ones that are alive, I tried to get in touch with, but they never would return my messages. So I haven't talked to them. But she had another whole family, and I just want to know. Do you know that you had a sister named Mary Frances? Do you know anything?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about your older sister named Mary Frances?
Yeah. And no results from
No
that.
results. That's why you have to be careful who you marry. You got to know that person and know their family because you could be marrying your own siblings and you don't even know it.
And that happens a lot. And sometimes you don't even understand the reason why children come out with these um, mental retardations
Right.
or physical deformities because that's your cousin or
Yes.
whoever,
Yes. Your
somebody
first
in
cousin.
your line.
Yes. You don't know. And you need to know these things, especially as somebody that you really don't know anything about them. You better do a research. You better do a research.
You better do a research and a background check to find
Uh-huh.
out. Mhm. So this is the last question that I want to ask you, Miss Beverly. Is there anything that you want to, say? If you never know where this video could reach. Is there something that you would like to say to your birth mother? Maybe she finds this video. She knows your name. What would you like to say to your birth mother?
I would like to say to my birth mother, I would love to meet you one time, at least once, before I leave this earth. But if I don't, I know that's in God's plan. But I would love to know what you look like, what you sound like, your mannerism. Those are just ordinary things that people would want to know. I'm not out to destroy your life or looking for anything from you. All I want to know is where I was really born at, about my birth certificate, and information that I need to know. But if given the opportunity, anybody wants to meet their parents, their mother, their father. I'm just like any other soul. I just want to meet the person that birthed me.
Mm.
That's it.
Amen.
Mhm.
Amen. And I pray that it happens for you.
Thank you.
And your mother is Mary Frances
Mary Frances Matthews. That
Matthews.
was her name. Mary Frances Matthews.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're going to pray over that and say that it's already done. Amen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you so much, Miss Beverly, for joining me. And if you guys don't know about Miss Beverly Black, her channel, I'm going to have it pinned in the comment section below. So you can go over there and find out about her amazing channel and all the cooking, the good cooking you do over
Yes.
there, Miss Beverly.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
And
much.
thank you so much for this interview. And like they say, the more you talk about it, the better you feel. And see, you made me feel pretty good today.
Yeah, I hope so. I try my best to be respectful of
Yeah,
everybody. And I hope I did that for you.
you did. You did. You
Yeah.
did. Because I
Okay.
told you more than what I intended to tell you.
When you told me, I was like, oh.
But I felt comfortable. So I needed to let it out.
Yes. I
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing all of this with my wonderful audience.
Okay. Okay, thank you. You have a blessed
You have a
evening.
blessed
Let
day.
me go in here and see what my family is doing.
Yeah, see what your
Keep
family
coming
blowing
back
you
and
up.
yeah.
Thank you, Miss Beverly.
You're welcome, sweetheart. You have a
Okay,
good evening.
you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So thank you all so much for joining me today for this amazing interview, conversation, real talk about Miss Beverly Black. We're going to pray over this Miss Beverly Black, that you find your birth mother. Anybody who has information about Mary Frances Matthews, and you had a daughter, Beverly, please, you can contact me on my email, my Instagram, because I would love to see Miss Beverly have this type of closure before she leaves this earth. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And if you would like to be on the show, leave me an Instagram message. Thank you all so much for joining me for the Marlene Saunders Show and podcast, where we have real talk and real conversations, and you're welcome to it. I will see you on the next show. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye, guys.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive.